thing.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and welcome to the South River Special Public Budget Hearing on Monday, April 27, 2026. In compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, Laws of 1975 of the State of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting of the South River Board of Education was provided in the following manner. On April 17, 2026, the notice was delivered to the office of the South River Borough Clerk and posted at the Board of Education Administration Building. April 17, 2026, the notice was faxed, mailed to the following newspapers: Home News Tribune, the Star Ledger. On April 17, 2026, the notice was posted at the South River Borough Clerk's office. Notice has also been provided that as of March 1st, 2026, all future meeting advertisements will be posted on the district's website, srivernj.org, and will no longer be advertised in physical or online newspapers. Mr. Rosa, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bazak.
Here.
Mr. Butson.
Here.
Mrs. Bush.
Mrs. Bush has been excused.
Mrs. Lau.
Here.
Mr. Nielsen.
Here.
Mr. Onwudaway.
Mr. Onwudaway has been excused.
Mrs. Sadowski.
Here.
Mrs. Young Yao.
Here.
Mrs. Urbanik.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. So at this time, we are going to have the public budget hearing on the Board of Ed's budget. Going to open up the meeting right away to the reception of visitors. And the guidelines for addressing the board is to come and state your name and address, and please keep your comments to a 3-minute time limit. There will be another opportunity to address the board at the end of the meeting. And this is on first call and on second call and on third call. Seeing no one, we're going to close this part of the public session. And at this time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to our Finance Committee Chair, Mrs. Lau, and our Superintendent, Dr. Zurcher.
Thank you so much. The Finance Committee met with administration over the course of months. There we go. Let's try it this way. So the Finance Committee met with administration over the course of months in order to go through the process. And after having done so, the presentation that's going to follow is a result of administration meeting with various stakeholders in the district, going from every level in terms of administration, seeking the best that we could in terms of what we have available as funds, and then being able to comprise a budget that was submitted and then approved, and then now moving forward to be voted upon by ourselves. So I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Zurcher for the presentation.
Okay, great, thank you. I appreciate it, Ms. Lau, and I appreciate really the work of the Finance Committee as well as the board in getting us to a place where we have a budget that we believe will meet the needs of our students and district for 26-27 school year. So this budget presentation is organized into 3 parts, and what we'll be going over is,
You want it?
thank you.
It's on. Yeah.
All right, so this presentation will be organized in 3 parts, and what we'll be going over in part 1 is the process we went through to create the budget. In part 2, we're going to review what's new in the budget for 26-27, and then in the third part of the budget, I will be turning it over to Mr. Rosa, our business administrator, to review the financial impact. I have some technical difficulties today, and I lost my mic. just going to hold my mic. I think that's going to be easier for today. And the third part of the budget will be presented by Mr. Rosa, our business administrator, and he is going to review the financial impact associated with the 26-27 budget. All right, so the budget process. We begin by looking at student needs, our district goals, our performance data. We really consider equity, access, opportunity for all of our students. And then we also, of course, consider our mandates, such as our student learning standards and the implementation of the curriculum based on these standards. We look for stakeholder feedback. Our directors, principals, supervisors have conversations with staff. We do climate and culture surveys, which give us feedback from parents and students. We speak to district administration, our Board of Education Finance Committee, and of course, the full Board of Education as well. So some of the things that we consider when developing this budget. We do have a cap requirement. There is a 2% cap on the tax impact that we can put forth to the public. There are some exceptions to this, and we will get into that a little bit later on in the presentation. We think about increased costs, especially for students with special needs. That could be in tuition, that could be in transportation, and that could be in overall services. So you might notice that we may have a reduction in the number of special education students, and yet we might be having to consider a higher cost to cover the needs of the students that we do have. And that varies, again, based on the programs that our students need and based on those rising costs in special education. We also consider facility maintenance, federal and state mandates, safety and security, of course, our charter school obligation, as well as our contractual obligations, salary and benefit increases, and once again, alignment with those mandates such as the New Jersey Student Learning Standards. Some of the cost-saving measures that we turn to is definitely our partnerships with co-ops, and we do partner with several co-ops, including the Ed Services Commission in Middlesex County, as well as Somerset, Monmouth Ocean. Those are just some of the few. They give us competitive and much cheaper pricing on different services and products that we need. We also consider what we can do in a cost savings in terms of transportation, and then also grant allocation and management. Brian, can you just click that on your end, please? Thank you. All right, so in this budget, our administration drafted their school and department budgets consistent with those state and federal mandates that we have mentioned. Then they met with Mr. Rosa and myself, and we really narrowed down that budget to what's feasible, what's appropriate, what's necessary. We met with the Finance Committee of the board, and then put forth a tentative budget to the full board. Once they took action on that tentative budget, that went to the county superintendent's office for approval at that level, and that brings us to where we are today in presenting now what we see as our budget for 26-27 to the public, and then the board will take action on such on Thursday night, April 30th. So our budget really maintains our current momentum. It's really maintaining our staff. We are remaining fully staffed with qualified personnel. We are maintaining our class sizes. We are able to maintain all of our instructional resources and technology. We're able to maintain all of our instructional programs. We have no reductions there. We are able to maintain our mental health supports as well as our safety and security measures. But before we go into what we have in place for 26-27, I did want to review just a few of the accomplishments from the current budget year, from 25-26, some of the things that we've been able to put in place. And I won't read, this is a few slides long, I won't read every item from these slides, but we really have been able to implement quite a lot to support the growth of our district in 25-26, including a new reading program, K-8, additional grounds equipment, enhanced security infrastructure. We completed the turf athletic field, construction of the new press box, which was just installed at Denny Stadium over spring break. We have, of course, the addition to the board office, which is a preschool annex, and we have currently 3 preschool classes having their instruction and program there today. Additional staffing, we've been able to expand our mental health supports as well. And the next few slides are really just some pictures of those accomplishments from 25-26. So for those of you who may not have seen what the addition looks like inside, these are some photos of those classrooms in the addition at the board office. This is where our pre-K program is housed, as well as the ELC, plus an additional classroom, 2 classrooms over at the primary school. Here's our volleyball team. We were able to expand our athletic program, our press box, the kiln for our ceramics class. This is at the turf field. This is on the boys' baseball side. This is the new dugouts for the team, as well as bleachers for our spectators and their scoreboard. And so those are just some of the accomplishments. Some were not necessarily picture-worthy, but also really important, such as the new roofing at the primary school, really important and necessary as it had reached the end of its lifespan, but certainly an accomplishment as well. So in part 2, we're going to discuss what's now planned and new for 26-27. Too far. All right. By the way, these photos that are embedded in our presentation are of our actual students. You can see that's our cafeteria at the elementary and middle school, and that was one of our STEM nights where that photo was taken, and we thought it was a nice addition to our presentation to see how some of these things become reality for our students each and every day. So what's new for the student programs and academic improvements? I'm happy to say that we have 3 slides worth of new initiatives and new additions in this budget, and I won't read them line by line, but I will just give you some highlights. We are required to embed cursive writing back into the curriculum, and so we've funded for the development of that curriculum and resources. We have a Generation Genius curriculum in math and science. We are providing a subsidy for instrument rentals for our students who cannot afford them. That's in this budget. And we do have cell phone and personal device pouches and systems in order to be compliant with the new law that's coming into place for school year 26-27. So those are just some of the highlights presented here on this slide. In the next one, in facilities and security, again, I won't read the entire list, but we do have a set of additional bleachers going to Denny Stadium on the visitor side. We did find that for a number of activities in games, we didn't have enough seating on both sides of the field, so we're going to remedy that. We have new first grade furniture replacement. This year in 25-26, it was on that list. We replaced kindergarten furniture that was outdated and aged. We will be doing the same for first grade furniture in the upcoming system. We do have to address our elementary, middle, and high school parking lot, and we will be expanding the exit, actually coming out of our campus while we do this, as well as some of the sidewalks that are cracked and not in good condition and are potential hazards. The middle school gym is getting a new painting job. It's still original to that building, the current paint in that gymnasium, as well as new bleachers for that gym, which the students use for a number of reasons. We also have some additional equipment that we're adding to our facilities, line of equipment, as well as some additional security upgrades. All right, on this next slide, we're looking at staffing, professional development, and mental health services. We are adding a clinician for mental health support. That's going to be for our primary school. We are adding an additional custodian because we do have the addition of the annex as well as some of our other pre-K programs, and so we're adding some custodial support there. We've had evening security officers, which we piloted this year. We have had very good feedback on having those after-hours security officers in place. They really help give people safe and secure access to the buildings when they need it, but also supervise and make sure that there is no potential harm to people after school hours. And so we are going to move forward with that program for next year. We're also doing PD for teachers and really supporting students with disruptive behaviors, making sure that the classroom climate is one conducive to learning and appropriate for learning, giving our teachers some support in that area. We're looking at a teacher training center as well, a dedicated area for our teachers to be able to collaborate, articulate, and receive their professional development. And some other additions as well that are there for your review. And so this is how our expenditure percentages break down. And you can see the largest expenditure is in instruction, as it should be. That does include the salaries for our instructional staff. They are the #1 resource in the district. We cannot do what we do without our teachers, without our staff. And so a large portion of our budget is dedicated to instruction. It also includes our instructional materials, our instructional resources, everything we need in order to teach students every day. We also have a large portion dedicated to employee benefits. That's a contractual obligation and a state obligation. And again, we have to retain and keep good teachers and attract good teachers, and we do that by offering a sound benefits package. You will see another large portion of our budget goes to operations. That's just making sure that our schools are clean, are safe, are ready for students when they arrive. Special ed services for special education are expensive, as we've discussed in prior slides. That takes up a large portion. You will see that the smallest portions in this budget are really dedicated to debt service, which means that the district doesn't have a lot of debt. It's a good position to be in. And also general administration is a low number there. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Rosa, who's going to cover the finance portion. And I know I have a few slides. He'll turn it back to me in his section as well as we near the completion of our budget presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Searcher. So as Ms. Lau mentioned in the beginning, there were lots and lots and lots of meetings, a lot of deliberation, and finally, I'm proud to say, as you saw in the pie chart, that we have a very balanced budget, thanks to everyone who was involved in the process.
Thank you.
So the first slide we're going to speak about is revenue. So this is the good slide. This is where I show you where the money comes from. So we have audited excess surplus from the year before. We also have some monies for debt service levy. We have the local tax levy, which includes healthcare adjustment and bank capped. We receive funds from state aid, comes from the state. We also receive from the state other state funds, which is really our non-public, which is a pass-through for us. We have Medicaid reimbursement for our semi-students, our student activity accounts, which is mostly fundraising. We have encumbered reserve funds, which are from prior years as well. We have preschool aid. We have the anticipated federal funds, and we have a withdrawal from capital reserve, which we will use to pay the debt service levy. Now, here's the bad slide. So Dr. Zurcher showed you the percentages. This is the dollar amount of all those categories that were on the pie chart. As she mentioned, our top three would be our general instruction, followed by employee benefits, and then special education and operations. So I won't read them all, but this is what it amounts to, which at the end is $65,124,374, which is also our revenues. Moving along. Our biggest expense, and you'll hear this very commonly within all school districts, is our salaries and our health benefits. So between the two, it's about almost $38 million. This equates to over 60% of the whole budget. And I'll pass it over to Dr. Zurcher.
Okay, so as we begin the discussion about tax income, tax impact, I do want to just have a conversation about what's a little bit different in this budget than in prior years. And in this budget, we are tapping into what's called banked cap. We have used banked cap before, but in this year, our remaining banked cap is going to expire. And let me explain what that means. So banked cap is unused tax levy increases from previous years up to 3 years old that a district can save, can use at a later time. And we began, just for the sake of being really transparent in terms of our timeline, we began banking cap in 2021 during COVID. And at that time, we went into the public at a time that was very vulnerable for people financially. We went into the public at a 0% increase. We were allowed to go to 2%. We did not do that in that year. We made a budget work at 0% for our taxpayers. And then we banked, meaning that we set aside what that 2% would have been for later use. And then along the timeline, as you can see, we've used some of that banked cap, as well as we've collected additional banked cap. And another way to collect that banked cap is if you have a change in enrollment. So one of the years we had increased enrollment, that allowed us to also bank some of this cap. And in other years, we also had a health benefit adjustment, meaning that for that year, our health benefit costs were so high that we were able to also collect some of that banked cap or use some of that banked cap that we had collected in order to balance our budget, in order to use it. We've also used some of that towards the ELC, the payment of the ELC, in order to be able to hold our pre-K. Our pre-K program right now for 26-27, we have about 250 people requesting a seat in that pre-K. And we're already starting to, let's say, graduate some of our first set of students from pre-K and are really able to start to see the impact of that pre-K education on our students as they become first graders, second graders, and so on. And we're seeing great benefit there. So definitely an investment in our children that was needed. So in this banked cap, as you move across the timeline, we've used it, we've saved it. In this year, going into 26, 27, we have to exhaust the remaining portion of our banked cap. And we will be doing so in order to balance this budget. Once we do that, that banked cap is exhausted, which would probably lead you to ask, well, if you're exhausting all of the banked cap and have no opportunity to use it moving forward, then what is the plan for school year 27, 28? Which is a valid question. But what we do know about 27, 28, and of course we are in 25, 26, planning for 26, 27, and thinking about 27, 28. What we do know about that year for school funding is that the state is really looking to redo the entire funding formula for schools. The funding formula is considered to be outdated and not really working for New Jersey, and you may have seen a lot of this in the news, a lot of it that's impacting districts statewide. So there's a lot of conversation about the fact that for 27, 28, the whole funding formula is going to look different. And so therefore, being able to even consider bank cap, which we don't even know will be in existence, is not a good use of our energy and consideration at this time. So we know for 27, 28, everything is going to change. We also know for 27, 28, we are below adequacy, and that's a good transition in explaining what that actually means and what it means for the district if we are below adequacy this year and still in 27, 28. Were you able to do it?
Yeah.
Okay, there we are.
Maybe put your laptop cover down.
Okay. All right, so for budget adequacy, which is what I just referenced in regards to the 27, 28 school year, and how it impacts us today, and also going into this upcoming school year. Adequacy really refers to the state's definition of what the district should have or how much it costs to properly educate the students of South River. That means the number of students we have and the types of needs that our students have. So as per the state's own definition of adequacy, what South River should have in order to educate our students is approximately $59 million. But what we actually do have, based on state aid and our tax levy, is more like $51 million. So there's a gap of about $8 million between what the state says we need to educate our students and what we actually have. So we are functioning at $8 million less than what we should have as per that definition from the state. So if you liken this to your household budget, it's really thinking about meeting your basic needs, but knowing that you are strapped and you should have more income than you actually do in order to meet your household budget. And so, of course, how that impacts, well, it impacts our staffing, it impacts our programs, it can impact everything to be $8 million under adequacy. When I first came to the district, we were about $20 million under adequacy. Little by little, we caught up with additional state aid, and we were then after at about 18 million below, 15, 11, and now we're still at 8 million below adequacy. So if that trajectory continues, my guess is by 27, 28, we'll be at about 5 million below adequacy. And so how do we function, right? If your household income isn't bringing in what you need, but then I just presented to you all of the new programs, all of the new initiatives, everything that we're still able to do for our district, how are we doing that would be a rational question. All right, So how we do that is we bring in additional revenues. So in your household, you might look at this as getting a second job, right, to bring in more income. How do we actually bring more funding into the district to make up that $8 million gap? Funding that's outside of state aid, funding that is outside of the tax levy. And here are some of the things that we do, and it's mostly through grants. We do collect a lot of revenue through our grant programs. These are just some of the grants. The biggest one definitely being our pre-K grant and the 21st Century. The pre-K is a fully grant-funded program. So these are just some of the grants that we have in place, as well as things that we're allowed to collect revenue for, such as facility usage. We are, of course, a nonprofit organization. We are not a for-profit. We are a public school district. We cannot make profit on anything that we collect. We have to give back to our students and our teachers. And so in total, we're able to make up through grants almost $4 million of that $8 million that we are below adequacy, as you can see from this slide. And what that means is the same thing that it means for a household that is taking in that second job for additional income. It is taxing, it does have an impact, and it's not always ideal. So in grants, for example, we are subject to the conditions of those grants. So many times, those grants outline exactly how the funding has to be implemented. We don't have the flexibility that we would like, but we appreciate the funding as it helps us really put in place the programs and the initiatives that we need for our students. And so we balance that. We balance bringing in the revenue with really having to meet those conditions of the grants. And that is really a summary on banked cap and additional revenues. And I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Rosa, who's going to continue to discuss our progress towards our debt obligations, as well as the exact tax impact.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Zurcher. So yeah, so as Dr. Zurcher mentioned, the progress that we have for our debt service, or debt obligations rather, excuse me, we still have 3 items here. We are moving forward. We did start, so think back to 2020 where we $15 million in debt, where next year we would end up at $4 million. Our debt service, which is a result of bond payments from a referendum, which was a primary school, it will be paid off at the end of this budget that we're presenting today. We also have some desks. We did a revamped with some furniture back in 2023. We still have 1 more year after this budget. And then our early learning center, we still have another 2 years to be completely done. So in 2 years, all this debt would be paid off. All right, and then the next slide is the tax impact from this budget. So on an average assessed household of $293,682, this is going to be about $39.61 month increase, $118.83 quarterly increase. And this is based on ratables of $1.5 trillion in South River. So how do we compare to other towns in Middlesex when it comes to property taxes? So believe it or not, South River is the 3rd lowest in total property taxes out of 25 municipalities in Middlesex County. So the average is about $7,821 in South River, compared to the highest, which is $13,818. This is information that's provided by the Department of Consumer Affairs, and their website is also linked in this presentation. So here, just a synopsis of everything we've spoken about when it comes to revenues and expenditures and where we stand with our reserves. As I mentioned, our revenues is $65,124,374, which represents a 1% increase from the year before. That same amount is our expenditures, because as Dr. Zurcher mentioned, we cannot keep any money. We spend it all on our students. Our capital reserve, we do have $1.7 million for any emergencies that may occur during the year. And our maintenance reserve, we have $500,000. Here's just some statistical data. We have a total enrollment, 1.26% increase. Our special ed, 2.66% decrease. Again, these are projected numbers. Our ELL students, we have a 2% decrease. And our free and reduced lunch students, we do have an increase, and it's we right now stand at a 53.27%. That concludes the presentation.
So I would like to open it up for questions and from the board, and then there will be a public session for any questions from the audience. And I do want to mention that we will be posting this website, this presentation on our district website. I will also be presenting our budget and initiatives for 26-27 to our district teachers and staff in May. And we are always available for any questions about the budget or otherwise. We do have a comments section on our website as well, and we take in any feedback from parents, from the community, as well through that method, but we are always open to have conversations, answer any questions, and make this budget be something that our community members can understand. We know it's a lot of educational and financial jargon, and we want to really make it easy for the community to really understand where their tax dollars are going and how we are educating our students and how we're using this budget to provide the best education that we can. But I will open it up to the board for any comments or questions first.
I'll start. Great job, everyone. You guys put a lot of hours into this. And if you noticed on one of the slides, the state aid we received this year is the same as last year. And it was only $152,000. That doesn't go very far in this day and age. When you look around at other districts who are closing schools, laying off teachers, cutting programs, we've done none of that. This board has been fiscally responsible for the 16 years that I've been up here. We've had to make some hard choices in the past, and we're lucky now that we're steady here and we can keep the facilities open. We have our teachers here. I was talking to a board member from East Brunswick yesterday. They're talking about having to charge their parents if the kids want to participate in an after-school sport because they have to cut. They're losing so much state aid. We don't have that. The fiscal responsibility that this board has put forth under the direction of Dr. Zurcher and Johnny is to be commended, and the staff working with us, they're also to be commended. And I'm just proud of this budget and the work that went into it. Thank you, everybody. That's all I have to say.
Just to piggyback on one thing you mentioned the athletic programs. Our 21st Century Grant does cover a lot of, and that is a federal grant. We don't have word yet on what's happening with federal grants for the upcoming school year, but we do use funding from that 21st Century Grant to fund a lot of our athletic programs, a lot of our after-school offerings, as well as after-school programming for our students. So that's one example. And we know, as I mentioned before, that is a grant that comes with certain conditions that we have to abide by in order to take the funding. We know that those conditions are sometimes challenging, but in the end, it provides us an opportunity to be able to offer these programs and these opportunities for our students.
Are there any other board members having any comments or questions on the budget? I'd just like to comment and build on the prior two comments about East Brunswick charging for the extracurricular activities. If you recall, in this presentation, we have included, we being the Board of Education, a stipend or help for people and students, their parents, who want to learn a musical instrument to offset the cost of renting that. I found that very nice, particularly because I am musically inclined, as Mr. Rosa knows, as he is also. And that's just a very nice attribute of this budget, one of many. The other item that I just wanted to point out, and Mr. Rosa, if you could go back one slide, good luck. No, maybe this
Oh,
one?
yeah.
Okay. So when we see these numbers up here, Mr. Rosa gave the numbers in percentages. But if we look at what those numbers are, just to give you a magnitude of the number, so what is our total enrollment? About almost 2,300?
25.
2,500. So if you look at a number like 565 English language learners, that's about 20% of our population that we provide for. And that's another cost. And the same thing with the free and reduced lunch students. And we provide that. And still with all of these items that we are providing, this remains, in my opinion, a very economically sound budget. And this remains one of the best places that you could send your child to school to be educated. Are there any other comments from any other board members at this time? At this time then, we are going to open up the meeting to the public. Once again, if you come up to the podium, please state your name and address, and please keep your comments to a 3-minute time limit. And this is on first call and on second call and on third call. So this will close the public portion of this meeting on the budget. There will be an opportunity to comment at Thursday's meeting
Correct.
on the budget, not only at our pre-meeting, which we have moved to that night, but also at the regular public meeting.
Correct.
Yes? Okay. At this time, I'd like to ask if there is any old or new business from any board members to come before the board.
If I may, parents have been asking if it was possible to put a porta potty down here to the, between the elementary, so that because after school hours, when the school's locked up, parents are here with young children and they have nowhere to go. I told them I would reach out to Dr. Zurcher at tonight's meeting and bring it to the attention.
Sure. Yes, so we have had some conversation, some initial conversation. The field is still very, very new, and we are learning how it is being used and what it needs. We have had some early conversations about that. We have some challenges about putting the portable potty at the turf field that we don't have necessarily at any stadium where we have them. And those challenges are related to how we would manage an area with sewage near a turf field, which is different, of course, than a grass field. Transporting it to that area that is very hilly is also a challenge. And then we continue to unfortunately have to deal with some vandalism. We've had actually the portable johns vandalized at Denny Stadium and tipped over. And every time we do, we have to have a service come out and service. We have to have a service come out regularly for those as well. So we are hearing the concern But we do have some challenges in that area that we will not be able to resolve for this season, but we'll continue those conversations. In the meantime, we do have the after-school security both at the middle school entrance to the gymnasium as well as the high school entrance. And I've talked to Mr. Buffalino about how to just really organize what happens right before games in order to make sure that the visiting team as well as our home team are using the facilities ahead of time. But we do have those officers also situated at the school buildings if somebody needs to run into the building to use the facilities. So that's where we are for right now on that topic.
Okay.
So it's a to be continued, but for right now, we're sort of collecting that information and then we'll go from there.
Thank you.
My suggestion on the porta potty, we had the old field, you had a sprinkler system. And outside the gate, there's a fenced-in area where the sprinkler system is. You take the stuff out of there, you can put the porta potty in there and lock it and only use it, have someone open it when you have something going on in that area, and lock it after it's all done. Because one of the problems with porta johns is some idiot likes to knock them down and cause all kind of problems.
And it would cause a significant problem at the turf
Oh, yeah.
especially.
Yeah, because you're talking now it's a hazardous material.
Correct.
So-
So those are some of the challenges. We've explored different possibilities in different areas. And again, like I said too, it has to be transported with certain equipment. That presents its own challenge about transporting to that field because there are so many hills involved. But again, it's ongoing discussion as we really collect feedback as to what we need. This issue really came up in spring, didn't seem to be a concern in the fall. So we're trying to figure out why that is too.
People drink more water.
I
I don't
don't
know.
know, maybe it's
That's-
warmer out.
that's the
Could
first
be.
thing I came up with.
It could be. So
First
we're
thing I
trying to
came
figure
up
that
with.
out as well.
I think
So-
you have more sports. You have baseball that's going on. You know, football's usually just on a Sunday. So, baseball all the time.
Okay, once again, I want to thank the Finance Committee, our BA, and our Superintendent for doing an outstanding job on this budget and on the presentation. Just to reemphasize, again, this will be on our website. If you need to print out any of the slides or the whole thing and pass them around, please do so. And please come to the meeting on Thursday. At this time, we have no more business for this meeting, so we need a motion
Nielsen,
to
motion
adjourn
closed.
by Vice President Nielsen,
Second.
second by Mrs. Sadowski. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. This meeting is adjourned. See you Thursday.